it's my last day in the Philippines. Last day in Dumaguete. Overlooking this high tide channel and the island of Siquijor. And the overcast sky, the island of Cebu. I'm gonna miss it. I'm in the North Point area of Dumaguete after staying in Valencia for a few days. And I like this part of Dumaguete too. It's a little more upscale. There's a little more construction out here. It's not as busy as Dumaguete proper and the boulevard and that area down there. But there are nice places to eat and to hang out in the evening. And that's what I've done here the last couple nights. And you can see the mountains of Valencia off in the distance on this street that approaches the condominium where I'm staying. And thanks to Adrian of A's Place, our gracious host in Valencia, who has units here at this condominium complex called Marina Spatial, S-P-A-T-I-A-L, near the North Point area of Dumaguete. I've got a nice studio apartment for a great deal, but I'm leaving here in just a couple hours. Security is tight here. You can't get in unless you have a reason to be here. There are security guards in every building, and 2 security guards at the front gate, and roving security as well. So I'd say you'd feel pretty safe here. And in the messy unit with the dirty dishes and the computer and the clothes, because I'm getting ready to pack, you can see it's nicely appointed, nice big TV with a kitchenette. Hi. Bathroom. It's a nice unit. So this trip to the Philippines took a little over a year to plan. I had already decided the cities where I wanted to go and put the travel itinerary together and slowly put the hotels together with the idea that it was very likely that during the second part of my journey, which was to Dumaguete, things may change in the process. I originally thought that maybe I would go from Cebu to Lapu-Lapu, but I stuck with my original plan to go to Dumaguete. And then on to Valencia, a great place for ecotourism. So before the pandemic, I had originally planned to go to Thailand. I was planning a visit to Bangkok. And from there, I didn't know where I was going to go. It was just a very loose plan. And then COVID came and changed all those plans. Everything was canceled. And it took me a couple more years to really research and figure out where I wanted to go after the pandemic. So I chose the Philippines after looking at vlogs for Thailand, Cambodia, Laos. I even looked in Malaysia, thinking that might be a good place to go. But I ultimately decided on the Philippines for a couple of reasons. One, the confluence of Spanish and Asian culture. I'm already familiar with Spanish culture, having lived in Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic and in South Florida. I've been around Spanish culture just about my entire life. So I thought that if I came to the Philippines, I would not be lost in some cultural wasteland. And I turned out to be right on that one. The Asian element also, the friendliness of the people, the reverence for others, I found to be quite refreshing. You know, the city I'm in now, Dumaguete, is known as the city of gentle people. And that's very true on every transaction. And even outside of Dumaguete. Manila, everyone was friendly. In Cebu, Valencia, every tourist attraction that I went to, everyone was extremely friendly. And for that alone is worth the entire cost of the vacation. And speaking of cost, the most expensive part of this trip was the airfare. With travel insurance for a multi-city ticket from my home state in Florida, Orlando, to Manila, to Cebu, and then flying from Dumaguete back home to Orlando, with travel insurance, the entire cost was $1,900. The lodging itself is also very inexpensive once you get here. My room in Manila was a little over $50 a night. Cebu was around $40 a night. Dumaguete was $40 a night. Valencia, $28 a night. The condominium unit I'm in now, thanks to a great deal I got from Adrian, is about $30 a night. You can't beat the cost of lodging. And you can eat a meal here for well under $10. And that's with a drink if you want alcohol. Those are probably the most expensive part of the trip if you drink a lot. You know, you can expect prices for alcohol to be similar to that in the States. I'm not a big drinker, so I don't really care about that. But food runs anywhere from the 300 to the 500 peso range on average. So that's between $5 and $8 per meal. Just so affordable. And every restaurant I've been to has had great food. I did try to mostly stay away from the street vendors, although I did do that at the Boulevard in Dumaguete because I didn't want to have stomach problems. And that can happen here, unfortunately, and in any foreign country where the microbes in your body just aren't ready for the new bacteria of the next country. I was also able to experience the Philippines from a population perspective and through the cultural perspective. Starting in the largest capital city, working my way down to the second largest city in the Philippines, then coming to a city that is filled with expats, people from other parts of the world, and finally going to the quiet calm of Valencia. And if I had to rank all of those cities, I would put Manila last. As I mentioned before in my review of the room in Manila, and also my comparison between Manila and Cebu, Manila is a concrete jungle, and it's a 24/7 place. And yes, there are some beautiful areas. You can get whatever you want there. But there are also some very poor areas that I drove through when I was there, taking a grab around different places. But it wasn't for me. And I found myself, just in another big city with the same taste of any other big city. Cebu, on the other hand, was a very different place, filled with life, filled with action. The malls here are really big social gathering spots. People come from all over and just hang out at the mall, window shop, and eat. Food courts are great. There's just so much variety in food, both Filipino food and other foods. Dunkin' Donuts if you want it. But I tried to stay away from Western food in Cebu. I wasn't always successful. But Cebu just gave me a feeling of really being in a place where people are just loving and living their life. They're working hard, not to the same standard as Americans in terms of living accommodations, but everyone's happy there. Manila, I didn't see that. In Cebu, I saw a lot of smiles. Met a lot of friendly people, especially one very friendly person named Brenda, who I'm very fond of, and we're going to stay in communication. Cebu is also my jumping off spot for other tourist attractions that I wanted to do on the larger Cebu island. So I was able to arrange for a tour of Aslab and Moalboal for whale shark swimming with whale sharks, and also a sardine run and sea turtles. That tour cost about $130 for the day, very reasonable. There were only 3 people on the tour bus, myself and 2 women from Singapore who spoke very little English and pretty much kept to themselves. You may have seen a video of a woman in the Moalboal video that I did earlier. That's one of the women from Singapore. The other one couldn't swim, so she stayed ashore for almost everything, or on the boat for the whale shark fishing. But I was able to get that done. That was a bucket list item for me. I was also able to go to Tops, a small resort at the top of a mountain overlooking Cebu. Beautiful, beautiful place. Reminded me of an overlook on Lookout Mountain in Chattanooga, if any of you have been there and done that. But there were hundreds of people up there at Tops, with also a food court and entertainment if you wanted it. I was there for just a short time. I was also to make it over to Lapu-Lapu and look at the shrine to Lapu-Lapu, the man who killed Ferdinand Magellan to preserve the integrity of the Philippines. And I was able to walk through some of that history and look at a second large part of Cebu called Mactan, with also ultra-modern buildings and cranes in the air and construction continuing. And that looks like that would be also a nice place to live if you're looking for something metropolitan and less third worldly than the city of Cebu outside of the IT park. And then on to Panglao on the island of Bohol and Alona Beach, to the resort hotel I stayed at, Pyramid Resort. I can't tell you how calming that place was. That's when I really realized I was on vacation. And I love that place. And I want to go back there. But it wasn't my favorite place. As I mentioned, Manila is at the bottom of where I want to go. And I've got a tie for Cebu and Lapu-Lapu and Alona Beach. I would rank those together, so right in the middle. Alona Beach is a little more expensive than the other areas. You can expect to pay more Western prices. The airport, Panglao International Airport, services most of the tourism that comes into Alona Beach, and those are people from South Korea. And I met a couple of women from South Korea who lied next to me on the beach the first day I was in Alona. They shared some soju with me. I'm very familiar with chamisol. I did have a shot at 9 in the morning, and then I just left them on to their and knock yourself out with your soju. Those days are long past me now. But they're very friendly people who work for Samsung, just down for a weekend jaunt. And that's what you'll find in Alona Beach. A lot of people coming down from Korea for just a few days. A lot of Korean restaurants, excellent Korean food, excellent Western food, depending upon where you are. The Hanan Resort at Alona Beach is probably the most expensive resort with a Western style buffet. I don't recommend it. I tried it. It was expensive, about $25 per person. And the food was Western, but not seasoned to the taste of the Western palate. It was delicious, don't get me wrong, but I just wouldn't recommend that particular buffet. There was another buffet, a Filipino buffet, that was very good for about 700 pesos per person, which would come out to a little less than $15 per person. That was a great place. That was okay. The food at the hotel at Pyramid Resort, I've had probably the best beef stroganoff I've ever had at that restaurant. So you can feel confident if you go to Alona Beach that both your relaxation meter and your food meter will be way over there in the comfort range. And then on to where I planned to spend most of my time, and that was in the city of Dumaguete, the city of gentle people. As I mentioned before, it's absolutely true. Never a harsh word here. Spent a lot of time on the boulevard singing karaoke. People set up little karaoke setups with their speakers and microphone, at least 4 or 5 different ones on nights where it's not raining. And I just worked my way around and sang at all of them a couple of times, several times. I think they were happy to see a foreigner sing other than, a Filipino singing. They treated me very nicely. My singing is always not the greatest in the world, but I was a movie star here. Hey man, I'm not going to complain about that. The bar in Dumaguete called Why Not, I did not go into the nightclub. It's not for me. But the restaurant that's attached to that establishment has world-class European food. Everything is delicious. Their salad bar is encased in a very cold refrigerated box, so you're getting absolutely fresh salads with your meal if you want that. And the city itself has a busier feel, although it's much smaller than Cebu, has a busier feel than Cebu. There's a lot of activity going on the street. The open market is just awesome there, and the wet market. There's a good sized shopping mall in Dumaguete, and we had Brenda and I some KFC and a couple other things there on our visits over to the mall. I was able to take care of some water shoe issues. I had a problem with my shoes from the whale shark fishing, which is still unresolved. Those shoes are still wet. I don't know if I'm going to save them or not. But Dumaguete overall was great. I rented a motorcycle, a scooter from a fella named Goldfinger, and he is in Dumaguete, and I'll put this up here, so just freeze that. I don't think you can see it, it's backwards, but I'll put the link to Mr. Goldfinger down in the results. I got an excellent deal on a scooter for a week. More than served my purpose. Got us up and down the mountains of Valencia without any problems. Helmets were provided. Gas is very inexpensive here, relatively speaking. When you're driving a scooter, it just doesn't take as much gas to get around. If you're not familiar driving a scooter, I do not recommend that you rent a car. I recommend that you use Grab. Use the Grab app for taxis. And in Dumaguete, you can use the Grab app for tricycles. So you're not going to get scammed on your transportation. It can happen. When I transferred from Dumaguete up to A's place in Valencia, we put the wrong address in there, and it told me that the fare was going to be 72 pesos, which was a little over $1. Well, I knew that Valencia was a little far out. So the only time I really got scammed is we ended up at the wrong address, at the wrong place in Dumaguete, and we looked up the correct place, and the trike driver quoted us 1,000 pesos, which is about $17. And since there's a suitcase in the tricycle, it's the only way to get it there because I had a scooter. I went ahead and paid the man. But you know what can you expect? You're going to pay a small tax on some things when you're a foreigner here or anywhere else in the world. And then, of course, there was Valencia, home of the Forest Camp Resort. There's a big cockfighting arena that I wanted to get to, but just didn't have time to get there. A Japanese shrine that we saw was beautiful. Twin lakes, waterfalls, sulfur vents, all the ecotourism you could ever think of is right there in Valencia. The Sunday market in Valencia had a small hometown feel to it. And the town itself also had that same feel. Much quieter, much less traffic, much cooler up in the mountains than in Dumaguete, but with a little more humidity and rain. If you're afraid to roam on a dirt road, stay in Dumaguete or in Valencia proper. Our room at A's place was off the beaten path, but was as modern as anything you could book anywhere in the Philippines, with a swimming pool and TV if you wanted it. I never turned the TV on a single time when I was here. So if I had to rank the top of the list is Valencia for me. So when I come back, and I will be back, it's going to be to Valencia because it's quiet and it suits old men like me. It also suits younger people if you want a quiet vacation and want to hike and see natural wonders that you can't see anywhere else in the world. Valencia is the place for you. And Valencia also has the more modern conveniences of Dumaguete. So if you need to buy Western food because you don't want to buy things locally, you can do that at the mall in Dumaguete and some other places. If you want a night out on the town, the Boulevard is the place to be at night in Dumaguete. There's some great billiards places if you want to play pool. I highly recommend you do it. So there you have it. That's kind of my ranking. So if you're going to fly to the Philippines and you don't know who I am, or maybe you do know me and you're thinking about making a trip here, fly to Cebu. You'll be happy that I told you that. Manila's just a very big, busy place. Fly into Cebu. The airport's smaller. It's an international airport. So there are connections to the west coast of the United States and probably even New York through Air Philippines, or I know Air Singapore has a flight from New York to Singapore with a connection on down. You can do it that way. And then from Cebu, branch out. There aren't as many people. You're still going to experience the same beautiful welcome that I received everywhere that I went while I was here. And most importantly, you're going to have time to relax a little bit if you're coming on vacation. I know I got my vacation in, and I got my relaxation in, and I don't want it to end. I want to come right back here. But I have a small cash flow thing. I got to go back and make money so I can come back here again. But thank you for joining me on my vacation. Thanks for watching my videos. I have no idea what I'm going to vlog about next on this channel. It's going to be local, and it's going to be with my little girl Lulu, who I miss so much. But I will be back here to the Philippines. Take care. Thank you for walking around with me today. I hope you found it interesting. Like and subscribe if you like what you see. And if you don't like what you see, like and subscribe again. Take care.